Okay, sir, we're now recording.
Okay.
So to begin the interview, could you tell us about who you are and what you used to do and what are you currently doing?
Well, I'm in living in North Carolina. Just recently, this is like my second week living out here. I'm at a country club in North Carolina. It's called the Country Club of North Carolina, actually. So I'm the director of rackets, which is tennis and pickleball for the club. I just started less than 2 weeks ago. Uh, Prior to that, I was coaching privately in Los Angeles um, since 2007. Sorry, since 2008. Coaching out there, both privately and also at some clubs in Los Angeles area for the most part. Prior to that, 2007 was my last year playing on tour. I played on tour for 10 years. A couple of those years, my last couple of years, representing Philippines and playing Davis Cup, Sea Games, Asian Games, all those. But otherwise, that and my pro career started 1997. But so anyway, been involved in tennis my whole life, both as a player and as a coach now.
Is the tennis? Are you still coaching in LA, sir?
Um, Not currently. If you asked me before September 1, I was back in Los Angeles and coaching out there. But my we have a house here in North Carolina, and so pretty much made the move here with a new position, new job that I had in September 1 there. So it's not currently for since 2008 coaching in Los Angeles, but otherwise as of September 1 out here in North Carolina.
Okay. Who inspired you to take up tennis, sir? Or what inspired you?
My dad, he was working in the evenings in the hospital when I was growing up when I was really young, and during the day he would go out to the park and play tennis. And so he brought me to the park, almost as like a babysitter. He'd play tennis, I'd be at the park just hanging out there. At some point, I think I was surrounded by tennis rackets, balls, and a tennis ball for the most part, and that's how I got started. So I started as 5 years old. Um, you know, my dad just liking to play tennis, and a good opportunity, good like just kind of happened, I suppose, somewhat randomly, but just the right environment, just being around the tennis courts a lot, exposure.
Uh, were you coached by your dad, sir?
Yes, for a long time, he's my first coach, and for the longest time, up until maybe like my teenage, or maybe even like 12 years old or so, sort of like the primary coach, 13 years old. But we always had, I always took lessons occasionally, and then he would be the one that, maybe 1 hour a week, and then he'd be the one sort of like repeating the drills or working on the stuff that I worked on. So, but yeah, I'm a primary first coach.
With your dad being your coach, sir, what was probably your biggest takeaway from him growing up?
Um, he was just he was good. I mean, he was patient. He didn't really, the results. I mean, he was new into the sport too, so I think he had an interest in the love in tennis too. So, um, or if you want to shower, Penny, you're okay. Sorry, that's my son. Um, so he's the one who, we were both not like, there wasn't a big goal for tennis, like to become whatever something. We just sort of, we both like, I liked it. He gave me the opportunity to keep practicing, keep playing, and stay with the sport, and it just sort of grew from there. But I think that there was no expectation for anything, just that if I liked tennis and I wanted to compete and practice, get into tournaments, I would just practice hard and not waste my time, his time on the court. But never any like big pressure to do anything, just respect the time that I had and have fun out there.
Are your parents Filipino, sir, or is it just your dad?
Both parents, yes.
Oh, where in the Philippines are they from, sir?
My dad is from Quezon Province,
Oh, Quezon
and
Province.
my mom is from Manila area. Yeah.
I see, I see. Uh, Moving in, did your mom play a huge part in your career, in your growth in tennis too, sir?
Um, just in support more than anything else. I mean, she wasn't on. She wasn't. My dad was pretty much on the court, but I think as now that I'm a parent, you got to both parents sort of make the final decision, right? It's not just one person normally. So, um, I think she was understanding that I liked the sport, and they were both trying to support whatever, so give me whatever support I needed as best they could. She didn't have neither of my parents had a sports background, so I think it was just like, hey, we found something one of our kids likes, and trying to trying to uphold that, trying to keep that going.
Growing up, sir, in the professional scene, did anyone like catch your eye, or did anyone inspire you to, be better?
Um, no one in particular. I mean, I think I liked tennis the whole time, and I watched a lot of tennis growing up. I mean, I was way back when, so in my youth, it was like McEnroe, Connors, Lendl were the sort of the big names back then. If anything, I was probably a little bit more. If I could choose between a McEnroe and a Connors, I was probably a little bit more Connors. Even the way I sort of hit certain shots was sort of like Connors, like very flat and sort of Connors inspired, I suppose. But I didn't have like somebody that I like really idolized. I mean, I just like being around tennis and watching tennis, but no one specifically that was like my idol.
I see, I see. Moving into your college career, sir, you used to be the captain and the number one player of the then number two ranked UCLA Bruins.
Yeah.
What were your fondest memories with the team?
Um, More than anything, it's college tennis, right? Or it's team tennis. So just going through the experience of still trying to compete and still trying to get better, but to do that with a group like with your teammates was a nice experience because other than that time, tennis is just an individual sport. Aside from a couple times if you're lucky enough to play a team type event, but otherwise, that's not the norm in tennis. So just to be able to get better, to be at that age too, where you're just becoming, you know, an adult essentially. But to do that with some of my teammates are still my closest friends. So it was a good time of my life to have that to have tennis coincide with that.
Uh, were you playing at the same time when Cecil Mamet was already in USC?
Yeah, so we were yes. He was only there for 1 year and he won NCAA's. So my second year of school, my sophomore year was his freshman year when he came in for that 1 year, and then yeah, before that we went to tennis academy together, so we knew each other before that, and then when he was playing at USC versus UCLA, we're just same both in Los Angeles, just sort of school rivals, but yeah, we overlapped at the same time.
You went up against him, did you, or did you not?
In college, no, but not in juniors, not in college, but in pros, yes.
Oh, did you win, or like how many times did you face him?
If I had to guess, I would say, ooh, what might be the record? I would say he's maybe up 4-3.
Oh, I see, I see.
Yeah.
Apart from Mamet, sir, did you have any other rivalries in college?
Rivalries in college. I mean, well, USC, that was our crosstown rival, so that's always a big rival. I mean, during my time, they had Stanford was a big university, had a good program at that time. So the Bryan brothers were playing at the time. We played each other. Paul Goldstein, who's a current head coach and a former top 60, top 50 player, was also another player who played college tennis during my time, but also played professionally right after.
Um, Being a Bruin, sir, playing college tennis, how did it help you in? How did it mold you into becoming the pro that you were back then?
I think it just when you first go into college, it's from you go from junior tennis to college tennis. So you're playing guys either your age or a couple years older. So you have to maybe some things you can get away with in college tennis. You junior tennis you can't get away in college tennis because you're playing you know players who are more experienced and also more physically stronger. So I think it just accelerates it's kind of like the next level, you know, junior tennis. And whether you play college tennis or if you start playing the future circuit, there's sort of another level, the next level. So it just, that time it exposes you for, exposes your weaknesses, and if you have strength, it sort of says like how strong are your strengths right now. So
Being one of the best in college tennis back then, sir, did you have any mentors or like seniors or coaches who like mentored you, gave you words of advice or anything?
well, I think some of the when I stepped into UCLA my freshman year, we had I think they were seniors. We had two players who were seniors who were both at some point either like number one in college tennis or very close to it. So I think you know while maybe not trying to like be like I'm going to mentor you, but just them showing me kind of their routines and how they did things and how they competed, and just watching them from just watching them sort of you learn a lot from those people. I think for a lot of the you learn a lot just from going through the experiences in college tennis. How the upperclassmen sort of did things, and yeah, it's a lot of learning that way.
How about coaches, sir? Did you have any significant coaches?
So we had both coaches, Billy Martin, who's still the current coach at UCLA, and then we had we had one other coach out there. Um, I think they did a good job of if anything, teaching us or showing us how to compete or just preparing us for college tennis. It's a little bit more team sport. It's a little bit louder. It's a little bit more like in your face, and not as like, you know, it's almost like playing against Ben Shelton, but every match you play is against a Ben Shelton in terms of like their energy and their how fiery they get, how pumped up they get in the match. So just I think that's the big change from junior tennis to college tennis is that definitely exists.
As a former world number 122 in singles and world number 52 in doubles, sir, what would you say are some of the biggest life lessons or words of wisdom that you can give to the next generation of tennis players?
Probably more than anything that you you want to do things, you want to get into good habits and just make sure you're pretty good habits so you're able to just prolong your career or give yourself the best chance of doing well. I think it's important, especially these days. Everyone's a lot more professional. Everyone's eating right, training right, getting the right rest, or they all have the knowledge to do that, and most people are choosing to do that, especially the higher level you go. So um, the discipline is important. The getting in those routines is important. There's a lot of winning and losing in tennis, aside from even like the successful pros. Let's see, are like top 50, top 60. If you look at their win loss records, a lot of losses for the most part, except for an Alcaraz and Sinner, and the Roger Rafa, all those guys before. So you have to be able to prepare for that or understand that and know that's sort of part of it. And I think that might be the hard part with a lot of people transitioning. If you're used to winning a bunch and then all of a sudden you're losing a bunch, it's sort of your your character is sort of challenged in a way. Are you able to handle that? Are you able to be resilient and move on from that? Some people are like okay with that, and I think those are the ones who have like are able to climb the rankings, and some are not. Right? It sort of questions like who they are, their self worth, and so it's difficult because it's a lot of emotional like ups and downs when I think when you're playing pro tennis, and I think part of the skill of the ones who do well is that they're able to for however they do it, everyone does it differently, but they're able to deal with it well.
How would you, how do you think, how big do you think sacrifice is in tennis, or like self-sacrifice?
It's part of it for sure. I think the sacrifice is different as you get a little bit older in junior tennis, or maybe in junior tennis, and depending on the age, it might be when you're really young, it might be like missing out on like little like school events, and then birthday parties, and then maybe as you get a little bit older, it's missing. I don't know. I don't think I never went to a prom, but just missing those little milestones that might be sort of a normal kid might do. That not to say you have to miss it, but you might, and you have to be okay with that. I mean, you have to be okay with like, hey, normally my friends are hanging out and going to the mall or doing something, and I'm at a tournament. That can become challenging because that becomes your life essentially, and as a coach, I sort of see that sometimes too. People are like, hey, I kind of want to be a lot more social, but I need to really practice. I need to do certain things. So sacrifice is definitely a part of it. I mean, as you get older and then into adults, it's the same thing. It's just about making sacrifices. But I think some things are harder to sacrifice than others, but it's definitely a choice you have to make pretty regularly in tennis. And I know it's not everyone's approach, but a teammate of mine had some kind of quote, but he was saying like how he how he was appreciative that some of it that the people in his circle that they allowed him to be as selfish as he had to be, because he felt like he just needed that. I mean, some people don't, I guess, don't have to take that approach, but he was one of those guys who were like, "Hey, I need to. If I want to be good, I need to make these choices, and it might not be in everyone's best interest, but it's in mine." But he was willing to do that.
Being in the top 100, sir. Most of the time, many pros, especially on social media, talk about the difficulties of financial stability, especially on the tour, and especially those who are probably lower than the top 100. How would you say is the best strategy in maintaining financial stability for those who are struggling on the tour? I mean, for those who are probably ranked lower on the tour.
Yeah, I mean that's tricky. That's if someone had a good answer for that, a lot of people would be really happy. I mean, everyone's in different situations, right? If you're from, let's say, it comes down to money, right? So if you're like, I don't know, let's say you're an American player here and you're the 20th American, and let's say you're around 200, or you're probably not getting that much help from the USTA, from the Tennis Federation. If you were the number 200, but maybe the third best player from, I'm not even sure, but let's say from I don't know, Norway, they might be like, oh, that might be we might be able to support you. So it really depends on your situation. I know when you go to like when I see like a lot of Brazilian players growing up, they have like on their shirts, there's a patch here, there's a patch here. They get a lot of sponsorship, they get a lot of investment from companies, and that's part of what allows them to travel and be abroad. Um, in the Philippines, I'm not sure what the current situation is, but we had John Henry Levillier helping a lot with it and being involved in the federation, and I think he's support. You need someone that's if if your tennis federation is doing, you need someone that privately sort of like funds it or just helps along with it. Otherwise, it's an expensive sport, and it gets even more expensive these days because everyone's hiring a coach, a trainer, the better you do, the more you're investing back into yourself. So it's very hard. I'm not sure. I mean, in a way, my career was sort of, I had a weird career because I primarily played doubles first because that's what I was doing well in, and then I went to singles, and then I never really went back to doubles. But normally people will play singles for as long as they can when they feel like they they can't make it anymore, or they switch over to doubles. But I did it a different way. I was doing well in doubles right away, but I needed to stay in doubles just to fund my career, just to pay for things. So I was making choices based on what I can get into doubles, just to keep it, just to get some money in the bank. It's not ideal. Normally, you play your best years when you're at the youngest or you're peaking sort of physically. But I had sort of a mix of I had it almost in reverse, but again, just in a way that I had to, and that was just my situation. Everyone else, people are looking for sponsors and contracts where maybe they get someone to invest some money, but they have to pay back, 20%. They have to pay it back, and with interest on top of thing. I've heard a bunch of different situations over the years, but yeah, it's a very tricky question and a very hard answer.
Moving back to sacrifice, sir. What would you say were the biggest sacrifices that you had to make in your career?
Well, looking back now, I mean, it didn't feel like much of a sacrifice because it's something I just wanted to do. But starting my sophomore year in high school, so I was 15 years old, I moved away from home in New Jersey to Florida, to attend the tennis academy, and I stayed there until I went to college to UCLA. So that was probably the biggest sacrifice. Again, when I got an opportunity to go, I had a scholarship to attend a tennis academy full time. It felt more like an opportunity than a sacrifice. But I did move away. I mean, now that I have my own kids and I have one of them who's 15, it does feel like, wow, if he left at home at the age he is now, but like that would be kind of weird for me. But again, the sacrifice was probably mostly to my parents in that case, because to me it was kind of all fun and something I like to do. So I didn't think about. I mean, I did realize I was moving out of my home, but it felt like I was moving away for a good reason. I'm not sure if my son brought it up to me, if there ever be a good reason to leave, to be apart at this age. So, but that was probably the biggest sacrifice.
Um, as you mentioned, sir, you were away from your family back then. Being on tour and potentially being away from your family, especially during the tour, which lasts basically the whole year. How did you keep yourself company, sir?
How did I keep what?
How did you keep yourself company or like
Oh,
focused on your career?
I mean, when you're traveling on the tour, at least for the guys, they're actually pretty good about. You see a lot of the same faces all the time, so you wind up like, you're competing against them. But I think for the guys, they're also able to like still hang out and still be social and still be kind of like, I don't know, just like hanging out with friends. And some players are closer with than others, but I think um, that takes away some of the I don't know, whatever it is, the loneliness or boredom of being sort of away from home. But but again, some of the people who I played pro tennis with is still are some of the best friends I've had even to this day. I mean, it's kind of like you almost have a bond, right? Everyone's away from home. Everyone's has this like weirder um, weirder lifestyle. We're traveling somewhere new every week, but in a way that sort of, in a way, you have that in common and sort of brings people together as well.
Did your parents ever come to watch you in a match when you were already pro? So,
They would come to they traveled to they saw me play they didn't go to Australian Open, but they made it a point to go to. They came to my first French Open. I don't know if they came to my first U.S. Wimbledon, but I think they at some point they got there. U.S. Open was near home, so they always went there. Um, where else did they go? They didn't go Los Angeles. They didn't go L.A. Open. But they would primarily the Grand Slams, except for Australia, and then the U.S. Open, or if there's another tournament near U.S. Open, like there's a tournament the week before the U.S. Open, which was played in Long Island, again not too far away from the U.S. Open, another pro tournament. So they would go to that over the years, but and then they went to when the Filipinos Manila was hosting the host city for Sea Games. They flew out for that as well. So they didn't go to all matches, but anything that was sort of nearby, they went to.
With your parents watching, sir, how proud would you feel, and how proud did they feel knowing that they were watching their son play in such big tournaments in tennis?
Um, I'm sure. I'm sure they were proud. I think they're definitely proud when I was playing the Sea Games because the crowd it was a really fun crowd. A lot of people watching, and I think it was the one tournament where it was like the whole crowd's going for you, so you really get a sense of the atmosphere and the drama of sort of the match. I mean, in the U.S. Open, I think they they were pretty proud there just because that was a place since I was 5 years old or 6 years old would go watch every year as a fan, as a spectator, and then years later I'm there as a player. So I think I definitely think there were moments when they could really experience like what I'm doing and that at the level I was doing it. Especially the bigger tournaments. So I think they really enjoyed that, and it was good to have them there because I know it's a lot of work it takes a lot of work to get to that point there, and they were always supportive and kind of going like whatever you need to do to make it happen. We'll try to help you out as best we can. So it was good for them to see sort of moments where I don't know if it says you've made it, but you've gotten to a level that a lot of people try to get to, and people don't get to it. So I think they were happy to see that, especially with like U.S. Open or some other places where they have other people they can share that experience with, other friends and stuff. Became a big deal.
Um, in your career, sir, what would you say were your biggest upsets, both in singles and doubles?
Upset meaning I like a big win that I had, that type of
Yeah,
upset. Oh,
yeah.
uh, these upsets. Let me see. I mean, playing Mike. I played some of the like I played I didn't beat Agassi. I didn't beat Jim Courier, Kafelnikov. I played all those guys. Quirton I beat in doubles, but Roger Federer when I played him, he was younger, so it didn't feel like an upset, even though everyone knew he was going to be great. He was still on his way up. I guess in terms of upset, the biggest upsets I guess are ranking wise, and then so I had a couple wins over some guys who were like Fernando Gonzalez, who was top 15 when I beat him. That Karim Alami from Morocco, who was top 20 when I beat him. And then there are names like Michael Chang. He was older when I beat him, but it was still good to get the win. I do remember going on the court against him, and they were telling the crowd, announcing us, and they were going through my results or some highlights, and then they went over and did his, and then and you can't compare mine and his. So I'm like, I was laughing because I'm like, I don't even think I should be on this court with him right now, because you're playing this guy who did French Open champion and number 2 in the world and all this other stuff, and then my results were like, or fine against a certain level, but that he's a totally different level, results wise, career wise. So it was funny to have that experience because when I heard that, I was like, this sounds kind of ridiculous in a match, but luckily I was able to win, so it wound up being like a good name to have on the resume as a person you beat.
You mentioned earlier Roger Federer, sir. Did you face off against him when you were like a junior?
I played him. So I played him the week before the U.S. Open. So like this year, they had a tournament in Winston Salem, North Carolina, right before the U.S. Open. So that Winston Salem tournament used to be in Long Island, a tournament in New York. So I played him the tournament before the main draw of the U.S. Open, and he was ranked, I think, just inside the top 100. So he was already ranked higher than me, but he was already like um, that was his ranking, but he was already like people are already projecting him to be like great, like way past. Probably if I played him 3 months later, he probably would have been in the top 50. If I played him another 3 months, he would probably have been top 20. He was just on the fast track going up. I happened to play him when he was I think, just inside the top 100 over there.
You beat him, if I'm correct. Yes.
Yes, yeah.
How old were you then? How old were you guys back then?
So that was one of those weird tournaments where I was playing that tournament, but I knew I was going to get into doubles, but then I had a singles ranking that got me into the qualifying a singles. So I want to say that was me post college, and I was playing doubles over there. So probably like 23-ish, 24-ish, 25-ish, somewhere around there. And I want to say he was probably 18.
Oh, he was still very young.
He was young, exactly, because Roger Federer was not the Roger Federer I played that long. I mean, he was always on the way up, right? And he stayed like once he got up there, he stayed there the rest of his career. So I definitely got him on. I got him on his ascent.
Was that the Feather? Was that the hot-headed version of Feather back when he was a junior?
So
Or was it
oddly
different?
enough, I beat him, but even his mistakes were pretty special. Like it was hard to read his serve, and I'm normally a pretty good returner of serve. It was very hard to read his serve. When he missed it, he was getting angles and hitting parts of the court that were hard to get. Like his ball had a different movement to it. Even when he missed certain forehands or certain shots, or like kind of felt lucky that I won. He was a little bit more inconsistent. Obviously, he found a higher level as we went along, but even playing him at that age, you could tell like the ball comes off his racket a little bit differently. The shots he's able to come up with that look pretty good. He may be missing some of them more than normal, but you're like, if those balls ever go in, that's you know you don't see that from most players. So yeah, he was missing just consistency and experience, but you could tell, or at least I could tell when I played him that time that there was something definitely a little bit different from him.
I also read back then in the as you when you were a junior that you beat I think this was Singapore Open, Marcelo Rios, former world number one.
So Marcelo Rios, I beat him. It was in doubles. I beat him in U.S. Open juniors, U.S. Open in the juniors in the doubles final.
Oh, wait, I remember the Singapore Open was I think against the Woodies, if I was
So
wrong.
the Singapore Open was in the Woodies. That was a pro tournament. So I played with Max Mirny over there, and we beat the Woodies my first and only title. I lost 7 finals, but that was the one title we did win. So the Woodies was Singapore. Marcelo Rios was in juniors, but the U.S. Open juniors final. That was the win the tournament.
Okay, moving to your career as a Filipino tennis player in the Davis Cup, Asian Games, and the Sea Games. What made what made you choose the Philippines along with Cecil Mamit back then in 2005?
Um, a lot of it what made it easier for me to join. I think there was always an interest to join and to get that experience. But I think playing with Cecil sort of doing it together. It was just I had a friend to join me, a person who had similar interest and sort of yeah, similar interest to join and be a part of something and try to make something special or different. So I think he helped a lot doing that. I know from the standpoint of the Philippine Tennis Federation, I think there was kind of a push or help inspire motivate them is that the Sea Games was coming out that or the following year probably. So I think they wanted to they were looking to have a good showing and they thought if we could come in and represent Philippines it would help for sure. But yeah, I think it was a fun experience just to go through those matches and have those experiences. Davis Cup, Sea Games, all those Asian games those years.
Having played for the Philippines, sir, how would you describe the atmosphere of the tennis scene back then in the Philippines?
Uh, just really good energy. In a way, it was like you don't get too many crowds where it's just like a one-sided crowd where everyone. Well, I guess in Davis Cup you do, but if you're the home team or if you're playing Sea Games and Philippines is hosting it, you know you're getting all the support there. So it was fun for sure to just walk on the court and know that the whole crowd has your back. But it's also very nerve wracking because you're like, I'm not used to this, and it's almost like you don't want to let anyone down. You know, you don't normally when you're playing a match, you don't want to let yourself down. But when you're playing Davis, representing your country, that's a different type of pressure. Um, it's a different type of pressure. So I, I wouldn't, I liked it, but it's also scary. It's super enjoyable, also super scary or intimidating or nerve wracking at the same time.
Um, Back in your time, sir, you played with Johnny Arcelia and
Yeah.
Francis Alcantara back then. How would you describe the experience of getting to train and play with them, the other Filipino tennis legends?
Yeah, well, John, it was definitely Johnny, and then we had PJ Tiero. I don't know if you remember that name, but PJ and Johnny were main guys. Francis, right, or Nino, he came in a couple years after me. He's a little bit younger than me, but I definitely remember his name growing up. But I mean, they were. It was good to have them on the team. They were. Everyone was very welcoming and excited to have us. Me and Cecil come in at the same time. Those guys too were super cool and fun to have around. They were pretty laid back and um, they were just supportive. I don't think they saw it as like you're stepping in on my territory. They kind of looked at it like, hey, we want to we want to be good teammates. We want to support you. We're gonna be prepared and play tennis and improve from this. Maybe from just learning from our experience and stuff too. So all positives from them. They always had really good attitudes. They were always uh, a big part of what made us enjoy the whole experience. I mean, Cecil.
What were your probably biggest takeaways in training with Arcelia, PJ Tiero, and Alcantara back then, sir?
Um, uh, Biggest takeaways, you said?
Yes.
Um, I would say for those, I mean, for us, it was just that they were on their side. They were willing to learn and to absorb as much as they can because I think those are the top guys in the Philippines. So in a way, people are looking at them and going, "Let's see what these guys are doing and how they do things." And I think they were pretty good in going like, "Well, let's see what these guys are doing, and let's see if we can learn and copy or just take advantage of their experience on tour." So I thought they were pretty good. They did a good job of absorbing information and learning and being willing to learn. Um, And then for them, they made a lot of sacrifices because they knew they were, in a way, kind of like backing us up a little bit. So they did everything to like just make us feel comfortable, help us out, and get us prepared to to play matches and to play well. So um, I guess yeah, my takeaway is how much they're willing to sort of learn and help out, and how they were just good teammates, good people to have for the team there.
Moving on, sir. I'm sure you have heard of Alex Eala recently making strides in the WTA Tour, especially after her historic win at the U.S. Open against Towson back
Yeah,
back. How many weeks ago was it? I can't
yeah,
remember, but
2 weeks, 3 weeks ago by now, maybe 2, 3 weeks ago,
yeah.
huh?
How do you feel now that she's carrying the hopes of the nation and the hopes actually and ambitions of Philippine tennis right now?
I think it's great. I mean, it's the better she does, the more she inspires. I mean, I'm sure she's inspiring just a ton of players and interest in tennis in general, which I think is going to be important to development of tennis in everywhere, but especially obviously in the Philippines and Asia, and also obviously especially the Philippines. So I think that's nice that she does it in a in a in a in a good way too. She seems like a good person, a good very mature for her age, and she sort of knows her role and how important she can be in terms of being a good role model and inspiring people. So I think that's great. I mean, it's she's putting obviously tennis in the Philippines in the world map in a way that Cecil and I, would have liked to, but she's doing it on a bigger, grander scale. So that I think that's great. Um, like I said, I think when you have someone do that well, you wonder like how does that what's the long term effects? Does that inspire more players to play? Does it give more funding? Does it put more attention so the government wants to put more money and fund more tennis? That's going to create more players. So she's not as much of a homegrown talent. She had to leave as well at a certain age because she probably maximized whatever she could from home, and she had to make the sacrifice of going abroad. But you never know if she does really well and the infrastructure sort of changes in the Philippines, and maybe we can get like, you know, why can't we be like uh, another country, let's say Brazil or name the country that doesn't have a rich background or long back of like elite professional tennis. Maybe she's the one that sort of sparks it and able to create that energy and the support for it.
Her younger brother, Miko Ayala, has been playing D1 tennis, I think, at Penn State, if I'm correct.
Yep.
Have you seen him, or have you seen him play at least?
I haven't. No, I haven't. Actually, I think they were at the U.S. Open yesterday, and I saw yesterday. Last year, I was at the U.S. Open. I was just sitting in a random like media area just because there were open chairs, and I was like, I'll just hang out. It was really hot that day, and then this was like, so I saw Alex, and I thought it was her brother there. I just didn't say hi just because they were there doing some interviews, and then they slipped out to like the stadium or the inside the stadium, so I wasn't able to catch up with them. But it was funny because I saw her last year, and then I didn't see her. I didn't see her. I wasn't at the U.S. Open the day she played, but I was like, I know it's a whole different story. Good for her, but in a year, like she was just sort of floating around. I think she was. I don't know what she was playing. Maybe she lost in qualies, or I don't even know if she was still in juniors. But it was just um, good on her because that's a year later, and now I know she had to get security, just to walk her to the course because there were so many people wanting to see her, and before, and one year a year ago, she probably could have, could have walked anywhere with no issues over there. So it's a nice change for her.
Last question, sir. Do you think, with the rise of Ayala, do you think that someone in the men's division from the Philippines might also break through the barriers, sir? Like the top 100 eventually?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's just a numbers game. I mean, the one thing that might may hard to say now because I haven't been back in a little bit, but I mean, I think the formula, the tough part about tennis is that at some point, when you reach a certain level, you need to play against people who are going to be who are better than you, who are going to push you. So at some point, at least with the way things are now, um, you, at some point you need to go to an academy or somewhere where you can find better competition so that you improve. So I definitely think it can happen. I think if there are more rackets and more um, in people's hands, that you'll just get it's like a numbers game where um, probably like you walk around anywhere, people are shooting hoops everywhere. Basketball in the street, just everywhere. You kind of need that for tennis because at some point there's going to be enough talent that just they'll be able to rise above. Right now, it's a little bit difficult, for opportunity for a number of players. Just some roadblocks that become that are hard to cross unless there's something to support it. So again, with all this attention worldwide and the Philippines and everything, I'm hoping she's able to spark it because I don't see why it wouldn't be possible to get some top 100 elite players out of the Philippines. Possible, but it takes time. You need good coaches. You need a good pathway to get better, and you need other players around you. But let's see. It'll be interesting. That'll be fun to hear what the effect is in the long run.
Okay, sir. On my part, I don't have any questions anymore. So with this, I'm gonna end the recording already.
Okay.
And